All right, so we are live on Facebook. Just as a reminder for everyone attending, we will take questions at the end using the raise your hand feature. If for some reason the raise your hand feature does not work on your end, please let me know and you can privately send me a message. With that, we will get started with Mayor Elorza.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. I want to begin first and foremost by recognizing and thanking our partners on this. And so first and foremost, working with Council President John Igliozzi, it's great to have you here, not just as a thought partner, but as a partner in government as well. And I particularly want to thank RIPEC, the Providence Foundation, and the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, Michael DiBiase, Cliff Wood, and Laurie White. They've been thought partners with the city on a whole range of issues for a very long time. And I can't thank you enough for the significant investment of your time and your organization's involvement in this process. And truly, when we think about the long-term health of the city, there are few, if any, things that are more important than what we're looking at here and what we're hoping to address. So thank you for your commitment to our city and for your participation in this work. So, I want to go back to 2014 for a moment. And 2014 was when I first started running for office, so campaigning for Providence mayor. And that's when I started having a number of in-depth conversations with stakeholders and leaders throughout the city. And hands down, the biggest fear and concern that was out there was the risk of the city slipping into bankruptcy and receivership. It was a very real, sort of a clear and present threat and danger to the city. And in fact, many people were banking on, many people believe that the city would have to go into bankruptcy. Well, that has not been the case. There's a number of things that we've done working with all of our stakeholders, but starting with the 10-year plan that we put together that all of the stakeholders participated in. Through this 10-year plan, we've been able to enact really sound fiscal management practices. We've balanced every budget that I've passed while I've been in office. We've made 100% of our pension payments. We've had record surpluses. We've been able to build up a rainy day fund for the city of Providence, the largest rainy day fund that we've had in over 4 decades. And we've also negotiated pension reform with our unions for our active employees, namely the announcement or the contract agreement that we announced several months ago with the Fraternal Order of Police here in Providence. So because of this 10-year plan, and with the help and support of many of our stakeholders, we've been able to avert bankruptcy and receivership and now find ourselves in much more stable condition. However, it's all relative. We're much more stable and stronger position compared to where we were, but we still have a long way to go. And the biggest challenge that we have before us is still the unfunded pension liability combined with other post-employment benefits that the city is committed to paying over the coming years. And so when I had the conversations with Cliff, with Mike, and with Laurie, everyone agreed that it's well worth our time to come up with a comprehensive approach and a comprehensive plan to find and propose solutions. So this comes on the heels of a pension obligation bond proposal that my administration put forward at the General Assembly. It did not pass as the session came to a close, but that's not an idea that we have abandoned. In fact, that's something that we are going to actively look at. But every person that's part of this group, they were all in agreement that while that merits us looking at very closely and actively, the scope of our proceedings should not be limited to just that. Let's look truly comprehensively to what reform looks like for our structural financial challenges that we have. So that's what we're going to be working on for the next couple of months. We're going to be meeting bi-monthly. We have a really, really strong group of participants that are part of this working group. And the idea is to make a set of recommendations and proposals in 2 months that help to address comprehensively the structural financial challenges that we have. So I very much look forward to this work. This is also an invitation to the public. So while we have 12 really amazing, knowledgeable people that are going to be part of these proceedings, all of our proceedings are also going to be open to the public. So we're going to be meeting via Zoom. We're going to be meeting bi-weekly. I may have mentioned bi-monthly a second ago. If I did, it's every 2 weeks we're going to be meeting, and the public is open to not only joining those conversations, but also participating in different ways. So we need to take a holistic view to address our structural financial challenges. And that's exactly what this group is going to do for the next couple of months. So I want to thank everyone once again for being part of this process, for your commitment to your capital city. And I look forward to doing this work together over the next couple of months. So I want to thank Council President Igliozzi and ask him to invite him into the conversation to say a couple of words from his perspective as the leader of the Providence City Council. Go ahead, President.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to say good afternoon to all our partners today. I'm, of course, Cliff Wood, who was a former council person I served with, to, of course, Mr. DiBiase from RIPEC, who I've worked with in the past also, and Laurie White from the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, as well as my council colleagues who are joining. But more importantly, also to the people of Providence and also the state of Rhode Island. This pension issue, pension crisis, has been going on for, I'd say, almost 3 decades now. And it kind of started way back when unfortunately, the unions controlled the retirement board. And that was one of the biggest issues, where they were able to hand out disability pensions. They were in charge of the investment structure. In fact, union members would be doing the investment of the city's portfolio. And it took a long time and a lot of struggle and a long journey to even get where we are today. There's been a lot of different pension reforms and different changes in the pension systems. And most people don't see it because it didn't happen overnight. It's been a collection of different changes over the decades. And we've progressively trying to get into a better place. And the mayor mentioned earlier, he's correct. The city maintaining and meeting its obligation, paying its yearly obligation to the pension, 100%, funding it 100%, has had a positive impact. In fact, the pension account is a robust account. The pension account has been invested wisely and has done well in a rate of return. But of course, we all know the problem is that it's still missing about $1.2 billion of money that needs to be in the account. And that's a real number. And for the average citizen, even for the average elected official, when you talk about this type of issue, people don't realize how it's a constant drag on the city's growth and ability to move forward. By the way, if the city can't move forward, neither can the state. That's why this pension issue is so important to address. So I'm going to commend the mayor and, of course, all the stakeholders willing to work together. And by the way, collaboratively, compromise, and hopefully lobby and put together a good proposal. Maybe build upon what the mayor just mentioned, what he submitted to the state legislature earlier. And also maybe request other things that maybe we need help from our different partners up in state government, and local governments, and of course, all of you. But more importantly, it's good that we continue this conversation. One thing I've always said in my years in the council is that pension reform needs not be something you talk about sporadically, but something that's always part of every agenda for the city of Providence until it gets resolved in one form or another. So I look forward to this group coming together. I look forward to seeing this collaborative effort coming together and hopefully put together a really good package and better understanding, by the way, to a lot of people who don't really have a complete knowledge and depth and breadth of how serious this issue is. So hopefully all of us collectively can help with that understanding and put together a great proposal and hopefully solve this problem, or at least mitigate it so it's as manageable as possible for the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island, so we can continue our positive growth and also to make a better city of Providence. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Mayor and all the folks participating. So I give the mic back to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to ask Cliff Wood from the Providence Foundation to please share a few words. Take it away, Cliff.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you, Council President Igliozzi. just briefly, the Providence Foundation really recognizes the economic interdependence of the well-being of the city and that of the state. And we've been committed to public assets for several decades, and that includes the fiscal health of the city. And we look forward to working with all of you and appreciate both your invitation and your openness to look at this problem and look as broadly as possible for solutions that can be combined to get us to the place where we know we belong. So on behalf of myself, Nick Freeman, our board and members of our organization, we are really very enthusiastic to be part of this, recognize without hesitation how important it is to the well-being of our communities, both here in the city and across the state. And I look forward to coming up to identify solutions together. And thank you also to the partners at the Chamber and at RIPEC. This really is a group effort, and we're very, very happy to be part of it. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Cliff. We deeply appreciate your partnership on this and on so many other efforts. I'm going to ask Laurie White, the president of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, to say a couple words. Go ahead, Laurie.
Thank you, Mayor, and it's a pleasure to be here today on behalf of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, and I extend my appreciation to the mayor and his team and to the council president and other dignitaries for participating in today's event and raising this issue to the forefront. To be sure, unfunded pension liabilities in the capital city should be of concern to all Rhode Islanders. As we know, Providence is the seat of government, it's the seat of industry, it's the seat of culture and academia. And as such, it's the physical, the symbolic, and the psychic heart of our state, and a place upon which the state's reputation rests. So that's why the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce is very concerned about this issue and the extent to which we intend to open up a dialogue to impress upon all Rhode Islanders that this is not an issue that just impacts the residents and the taxpayers of the city, but truly has statewide economic impact, as Council President Igliozzi just mentioned. Providence for sure has an outsized influence on the rest of the state and most certainly has the potential to drag down Rhode Island's overall economic performance. So again, that is why this is a statewide issue. Employment growth, population growth, and business growth are influenced by the city's fragile underpinnings, and that cannot be allowed to continue. We remain very concerned about protecting the tax base for the long term, and we remain very concerned about being able to fashion a competitive tax code for our existing businesses, large, medium, and small, that are resident in the city currently. So we look forward to continuing the discussion with all interested stakeholders, and we appreciate being part of the process. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Laurie. We truly appreciate your partnership in this and look forward to the next couple of months of work on this. Last but not least, I'm going to invite Michael DiBiase from the Rhode Island Public Expenditures Council, RIPEC, to say a few words. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor and Council President Igliozzi and my colleagues, Laurie and Cliff. Just a few thoughts. I wanted to emphasize what Laurie just talked about, that the long-term financial health of the city of Providence is not just a city issue, it's an issue for the state of Rhode Island. Providence is our capital, our largest city by far, our commercial center, and I would submit that there's probably no greater fiscal challenge for our state than Providence's finances. The mayor and the council deserve credit in their efforts that the mayor talked about in confronting these financial challenges, both in their city budgets and in forming this working group. RIPEC actually got its start in the 1930s as the Providence Government Research Bureaus, and we've been long dedicated to fiscal responsibility. While the city's unfunded pension liability and the rapidly escalating required contributions connected with that obligation are the most pressing. It is the most pressing financial problem. It's not the only issue affecting the city's finances. As the mayor alluded to, the city has an unfunded obligation to pay retiree health that's over $1 billion, which is nearly as much as the unfunded pension obligation. The city's tax rates for commercial property and for non-owner occupied residential property, which the mayor inherited, are very high and can discourage investment and growth. The city's debt level is high, which can constrain the ability to borrow, and the city has limited capacity, in my opinion, to keep up with needed investments in the city's schools. So my hope is that this working group can begin a broader conversation on these important issues, including the pension issue that all affect the city's financial picture. And we're very pleased and happy to participate in this working group. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. And again, thank you, Cliff, and thank you, Laurie. So at this point, I'll hand it back to Teresa, and we'll take some questions from the media.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. And for those reporters who joined a bit late, we will take questions using the raise your hand feature. I did already get a private message from one reporter, but just want to also acknowledge if you did join late, we are recording this session, and if anyone needs a copy, I can send this over to you afterwards. We're going to start with Ian Donis. Ian, if you just want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa. The question is for Michael DiBiase. Michael, it seems as if, based on what we've heard during this news conference, there might be an ask in the future for state government or state taxpayers to be part of the solution to this pension issue. As a former state director of administration, how would you sketch out the range of possibilities in that regard?
Yeah, Ian, I don't want to front run the working group. I think it's important that that's an open process. I would say that we need to, think more broadly about the city's finances in terms of state contributions, revenues, and we're going to need to put more things in play to actually try to solve these issues. But I don't want to front run the members of the working group.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to Nancy over at PBN.
Hi, Mayor. So 2 questions. First, when you introduced the pension obligation bond proposal earlier this year, there was really the idea that the timing of right now is imminent in terms of interest rates and borrowing ability. Are you worried at all that those conditions may change if this does become a recommendation later on, and that the circumstances will not be as sort of favorable for that?
So yes, we're always concerned. There is a window of time, this window of opportunity where a pension obligation bond would make sense because of the low borrowing cost. And so hopefully the low interest rate environment will persist. And if we do decide to move forward on a pension obligation bond, I hope that opportunity is still there for us. Lowever, I do want to stress that the scope of the work of this working group is not limited to the pension obligation bond. We want to look broader and more comprehensively at other things that can potentially be done. So, we're all keeping an open mind about what that will look like. And, hopefully with, the great group that we have here as part of the working group, we'll be able to come up with some really good comprehensive ideas.
Just one quick follow-up question. The General Assembly already has a pretty full agenda for what their sort of fall session is going to include. Are you hoping that if a pension obligation bond is the recommendation, that will make it into the General Assembly's fall considerations?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. All right, we're going to go to Steph Machado.
Hi, Mayor. I'm curious why there isn't anyone from any of the unions in the working group. Obviously, you got some concessions from the police contributing more to their pensions earlier this year, and I know you hope to get similar concessions from the other employees union. Why is there no one in the working group from the unions?
So thank you for mentioning that, Steph. And you know, I also want to point out. I know it's in the material we sent out in writing, but we haven't mentioned it specifically. You know, part of the the membership of this group also includes the governor or his designee, and the Senate president or his designee, and the House Speaker or his designee. And so we have, you know, the different parts of government that, you know, will also be participating in this conversation. We also have financial professionals, and that will be part of this as well. So, you know, we want to have, you know, as many, you know, diverse perspectives at the table as possible. So we're happy to have that. You know, when it comes to union membership, so I've been in close touch with them, you know, throughout the process over the last several months, and they're all very supportive of what we've put forward. The expertise on this working group is one of two things, or rather one of three things. First, one of the important stakeholders in the three organizations that are partnering with the city to move this forward. Second, it is folks who have a political stake or political influence in this, meaning the city council, the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And third, are financial professionals. You know, we want to evaluate all of the different options that we have from those three perspectives. Obviously, you know, the voices and the perspectives of the unions and their leadership is going to be really important. And there's an opportunity for them to participate and be part of this. But the three voices that we really wanted to have as part of the working group were those three: the partners, political stakeholders, and financial professionals.
Thanks.
So thank you, Mayor. Just one, I don't see any other hands raised.
Oh, can I just ask one more thing? It's Steph again. What is the total number that we're working with for the total liability, including OPEB? Is that 2 billion?
Yeah, so I think it's about 2.2, 2.3 billion. So
Okay.
1.2 on the pension side, and over $1 billion on the OPEB side.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I will mention that the reason why you hear more about the unfunded pension liability, even though the sizes of them are pretty comparable, the reason why there's been so much more of a focus on the pension side is because the payments on the pension side grow at a much faster rate than both the OPEB side and the growth of revenues on the city budget side. So when you think about what's going to squeeze out other investments in the budget, it's the unfunded pension liability that's doing that, and that's why that's been the focus of been most of the focus up to this point.
So thank you, Mayor. I don't see any other hands raised. So just as a reminder for all of our news outlets, we do have this recorded and happy to send along to anyone who needs it. And if there's nothing else, thank you all so much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.